All right, now I want to go through with you quickly an Excel file and what the Excel file would look like. Let's see if I can explode or blow this up just a little bit. And talk about, first of all, our actually not center of gravity. I want to talk about the weighted criteria evaluation system. And these are the weights and the scores for each one of our three sites for our weighted evaluation criteria. One of the things that you want to do is early is check to see if the scores add up to 1. And you see here on the spreadsheet, you should have a location down at the bottom where you'll see that the sum does equal to 1. Of course, you can also check this by using the sum function and then highlight those cells and see what they add up to. But either case, of course, you'll want to make sure that the sum adds up to 1. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and delete that. Then the next thing, you want to choose a cell, really any cell, but to calculate the weights, the scores actually for each alternative. And there's many ways to do that. I'm going to show you a couple of these, but the one that's the easiest is to use the sum product function. And the sum product takes it'll take the one array, which is our weight array, and it'll do that calculation function with the site scores, and it will compute that value, and as we already know, that's 77.5. And of course, you can test the other way. I'll say to do this is to calculate, grab that cell times this cell, and then plus this cell times this cell, and so on and so forth. But you can see how many keystrokes it takes to complete this operation. That cell times this cell plus this cell times this cell plus this cell time. And let's see if I've done this correctly, and then hit enter. Yes, I did it correctly. But again, you can see how many keystrokes it takes to compute this versus using the sum product. And then of course, with the sum product function, you can just drag across, and that function will be dragged across. Now you see there's something that doesn't look right here. And what happens is this sum product function is you use the cell indicator here in the lower right hand corner. It's going to drag that function across, but as it drags the function across, it's going to also move each one of those column arrays across. So you'll see, if you click on this cell, you'll see we've got site 1 integrated with site 2. Well, that's not correct. Site 1 should be that cell, and you'll notice. Let me undo that. You'll notice all I did was there's a hand function symbol that comes up. You can grab that and move that whole array over, and then hit enter, and now you've got the correct value. The other thing that you can do, you should do, I should say, is I'm going to go back to this first cell, and what we'll want to do is click on the function itself up here, and then with this, highlight the cells that correspond to your weights. And what you want to do is you want to hit, and I'm trying to remember, I believe it's just the F4 key, the F4 function key, and that inserts these dollar marks that means the rows and the columns for that array, that weight array, stays the same. So now when you drag that across, those values stay the same. Now the function for site 2 is correct. It has the correct arrays, and this has the correct arrays because these cells in column C have stayed fixed, haven't moved while you've moved across. So that's the easiest way to work with the weighted criteria. Now I'm going to go ahead and click the tab for the center of gravity tab. And now again, there's several ways to calculate this, and what I want to do is show you the easiest way using an Excel function and a different way. So the easiest way is use the average, since we know that the center of gravity functions without being weighted is just the average of these four x coordinates. And there's our x coordinate for the center of gravity. And now, again, the convenience is grabbing this cell indicator in the lower right-hand corner. You click and drag that down, and automatically it does that same calculation for the next row down. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to put one more decimal on that so we can see that. All right. Another way to calculate the center of gravity would be to use a sum function, highlight those cells, and then divide that by 4. And then you could do that same function in the next cell below. And then a final way would be to add up those cells, open parenthesis, highlight this cell. Oops, what I should have done, I forgot my equal sign. Equals this cell. Oops, sorry. I get it inside of that plus E3 plus C3 plus, or F3 plus G3 and then close the parenthesis and then divide that by 4. So anyway, there's a number of ways to do that. And let me actually, I'm going to merge these cells and put a little box around that. Okay. So that's 3 different ways. Again, these are the easiest ways to do that using this average function. Okay. Now, lastly, we're going to look at relative weights for each one of these locations. And the first thing that we want to do is calculate the total number of shipments. And so we're going to calculate the sum of these 4 shipments, and we know already that that's going to be 375 shipments. And then for location A, we want to calculate the relative weight for location A, which is this value, the shipment divided by 375. So we already know that's going to be 20%. But now notice again, in anticipating how we're going to do this, we want to drag this using the indicator. We want to drag this across to calculate those relative weights. But if we do that, if we drag this over one cell, then this cell will also move over one cell. And so in order to fix that in the same place, we're going to highlight H5 in the formula, and you're going to hit F4 to insert the dollar marks. Now when we drag that across, there's our relative weights. And then the next thing we're going to do, final thing that we're going to do, I'm going to just copy, just to, how do I want to say, to format. And I want to paste the X and Y coordinate. And we're going to calculate those values in this cell, these two cells, I should say. And so this X coordinate then is going to be, again, the easiest way to do is the sum product of now our weights. And I'm going to go ahead and anticipate I'm going to need to keep that array in the same location when I drag the function. So I'm going to hit F4, comma, and we're going to weigh those, put those weights with our X coordinates, and then close the parenthesis. And so there's our 238, and I'm going to enter a decimal point. And now we can drag that function down. We can drag that function down, and there's 444. So there's our X and Y coordinate for the weighted center of gravity. I'm going to center that so it'll be right over. And there you go, and that's it. And again, there's many different ways to do this. This is one of the ways that I would recommend. And then, of course, you can add whatever formatting that you would want to add to that. That's completely up to you. A number of different ways to calculate this. You could, again, another would be to calculate the weight times the coordinate location for that, and then in this case you drag that across, and then in this cell we'll calculate, just add those values up, and again that's your 238. And then now all we need to do is we've got this function, these functions, and we drag that down a cell. Oops, because what did I do wrong? This should be D8. It should be our y coordinate, not times 0, but times 0.2. And then drag that across, and you'll see now we're back to 444. All right, so a number of different ways to do this. I'm going to save this file. And we'll put that on D2L under lesson 16. And then next lesson, we'll look at the load distance function in the next class for lesson 17. And then we'll have a quiz where you'll need to use these Excel spreadsheet for the weighted criteria and the center of gravity, weighted center of gravity. I suggest that you go out and practice, look at this, try to go out and in other cells do the same work, or maybe just copy and paste the Burgerdoodle and just practice with this and see if you can make it work. And again, as always, call if you have any questions. Okay, look forward to going through this again for lesson 17.